Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Duncan here with another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where we chat with founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. It's a sweet spot for us. We love what these founders and the people in this space are doing. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a great guest for you today. This episode is brought to you by Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help mission-driven food and beverage brands bring people closer together through social media marketing, which tends to be a big marketing channel for these brands. So if you're ready to use social, I want to talk to you to create more community and excitement around your food and beverage brand. Go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more. I'm so excited to welcome Chris Allen from Osena. Chris is the founder, co-founder and CEO of the company. He spent 5 years in corporate finance before getting his MBA at Wharton, where he met his co-founder and they founded the company. It's the only zero sugar spiked coconut water. With no further ado, Chris, my man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Duncan. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's a snowy day where you are. I wish we were both in person drinking one of these beverages on a beach.
Yeah, no, it's well, unfortunately where we live, it's cold about half the year, but we try to bring tropical vibes to people no matter what the weather looks like. So,
well, Chris, before we dive into Osena and the story, tell us a little bit about the journey. You were in corporate finance, and then you decided to get into beverage. How just in a few sentences, how'd that go?
Yeah, sure. My co-founder Vicente and I are probably the least likely beverage founders I think you could have found. We spent the vast majority of the first chapter of our careers prior to business school cranking spreadsheets and numbers in the finance world. So I worked in corporate finance at a pharmaceutical company, and my co-founder was a trader, macro trader. So he is a quantitative genius, and we met at business school, and both of us had a lot of interest in consumer products and in consumer-facing brands. And I think what we had felt is we wanted to be a little more tangible. We wanted to be able to see and feel and touch our work. Rather than just move numbers around a spreadsheet. So, Vicente was interning in innovation at Anheuser-Busch, and I worked at a clothing company called Firebelly Brand, this strategy intern, working a lot with their team as they were growing. And that was the summer that White Claw became extremely popular. I'm sure everybody can remember what that was like when we first found out what spiked seltzer was.
Right.
And what we found was that a lot of the big players in the space, including Anheuser-Busch, where Vicente was working, were responding by kind of just slapping their name on incremental innovation that looked just like existing spiked seltzers. And important context for this is that Vicente and I were both in our late 20s when we started the company, and I had just experienced my first 2-day hangover. Being in business school, you do spend a lot of time partying and having drinks with coworkers and classmates and things like that. And I think we were both very fitness focused and wellness focused. We thought to ourselves, is there a way for us to take what White Claw had exposed about what consumers want, better, easy drinking, natural ingredients, less, sort of like bloating feeling that you get from a light beer. And can we take that even further? Can we take that into the extreme wellness space? Can we use natural ingredients like coconut water? Can we put electrolytes into our product and target it at people who are really about, very vigilant about what they put into their bodies? So basically he came to me and he said, I think White Claw is only the tip of the iceberg. I think we can continue to go further. Do you want to start a company with me when we go back to school? I also have a family background in alcohol distribution, so I've been in the beer industry almost my entire life. I always tell people a fun story is for Take Your Child to Work Day, when I was, in like 6th grade, 7th grade, I used to ride around on beer trucks. And not exactly something that you would think is a natural thing to do when you're 12 years old. I definitely didn't drink any of the beer, but I've been around it my whole life. So, that was a natural fit, and we got to work when we got back to campus in Philadelphia, and we've been at it, ever since.
I remember when I first came across coconut water in the US. I grew up in India. When I first came across coconut water in the US, it was Vita. And,
Yep.
obviously that's a whole interesting story. And you're in the same conversation, right? And with Mike. And I remember when Zico bought a percentage of Zico. I remember people thinking like, what is going to happen to Vita? Because a lot more people that I knew liked Vita than Zico anyway. Here we are today, still a very relevant company doing all kinds of extensions.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that and thinking about your colleague Vedant, who was here from Frutero, who was on our show a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, doing this really big thinking with coconut and tropical flavors at Wharton. I mean, this is a side of Wharton that we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I must have missed the tropical innovation hub at Wharton, but maybe we need to start that. Maybe Vedant and I need to go back and pitch that for them. Like, what better place to get tropical inspiration than West Philly? I don't know. I think I must have missed the connection there. But no, honestly, to your point, coconut water. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think we've had a lot of conversations with both distributors, retail. Obviously, in beverage, you're selling to people all the time at like so many different levels. We have all these conversations with people, and there is this kind of, I want to say, misnomer or misconception among retailers and also among just decision makers in the space at various levels that coconut water is kind of past its prime. Their insinuation or their mental model is that when Vita Coco and Zico were at their peak, that was really when they were first introduced. It was something that was, not necessarily very common in the market. And they thought that was the peak. So think like 2014, 2016, that kind of time frame. And to be honest with you, that it could be further from the truth. I mean, especially with Vita Coco IPOing in 2021, with Zico sort of getting back control of their company, Harmless Harvest entering the space. Once Upon a Coconut is a really promising coconut water brand. And also, I might add, sports drink companies like Body Armor incorporating coconut water into their formulations. I think that coconut water is sort of just in its infancy in terms of its impact on the U.S. consumer. And then, of course, you have us, right, trying to put alcohol in it. So I think there's a lot of exciting innovation yet to come.
I mean, you're right, because here's the thing, people have been drinking coconut water, ever since there were coconut trees. So it's not a new thing. It's not going to go away. And I think the biggest danger, in my third party opinion, the biggest danger to anything coconut water related is the companies that are putting out bad coconut water. Where you're turning someone off, they're never going to try it again. When in reality, man, it's always been ahead of its time. It's good for you, and combining alcohol with it is fucking genius.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I mean, I think your point is really well taken. Something that we've continued to kind of like harp on is when we first came out with this. There are other companies in the space who are doing what we're doing, primarily combining with spirits. But in terms of a coconut water seltzer, there was a lot of press when we first launched that we had invented spiked coconut water. And we were very clear to push back on that. I mean, this is not something that we invented at all. If anything, it's something that people have been doing, again, as you say, since there have been coconut trees and since there's been alcohol. All you have to do is travel somewhere where this is something that you can readily access to know that people have been doing this. So it is a very natural process and a very natural ingredient that we're just bringing to mass scale. And we're very proud of the natural heritage of our ingredients and the natural heritage of really coconut water in all sorts of consumption occasions, really.
I think I was reading an article, an interview with you and your co-founder Vincente about the search for a healthier option, and I think isn't that the case with both plant-based food, dairy-free, gluten-free, with alcohol-free? It's like, hey, okay, so you can't make the step the whole way, but you're going to try a healthier option, couple of days a week, and you might be drinking Jack and Coke the rest of the time. But if you
Yep.
want to have a good day, the next day, drink the spiked coconut water.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely something that I think a lot of um, healthier, more upscale brands like ours that use natural ingredients probably struggle with a bit in our marketing strategy, which is, consumers that have a higher level of disposable income are likely to make a switch to something that is a bit more expensive and is better for them on a regular basis. But we aspire to be mass, right? We aspire to be a better solution for everybody. Are you, for those people, a once or twice a week substitution for maybe a White Claw or a Bud Light, or maybe something that becomes a little bit more uh, endemic to their life over time. I think we definitely, if there's anything that I was drilled into me during my education, in business school, it's to solve problems for everybody, not just for people who look like the people that I went to school with, right? Like high income, high education, coastal people, right? So we probably will benefit from health and wellness trends rising over time. Um, and that is something that I think will only continue to grow, as we start to emerge from this post-COVID world over the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I mean, and what I really loved about what you said, which, after interviewing, we just, I think, did 120 episodes, after interviewing a lot of founders, the recurring theme is that people were responding to personal circumstances, A, and then B, the value of um, a solution to a real problem, right? Which a lot of times some products, they seem, I think, and you said that in one of your interviews, it seems like you think you know what's up, but you haven't gone to the consumer to really get that validation from them.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think it is also probably a bit of a new concept in general. Just the thought of an alcoholic beverage that can do something for you. It's a very complicated concept, and one that is, I want to say, um, legally and morally fraught as well, right? Because you're obviously selling um, something that is documented, to not be good for you, right? And obviously it's a substance that you know attracts a lot of scrutiny. So that is a bit of an oxymoron in itself, but we are, along with products like Spike Tea, Spike Kombucha, offering functional benefits in the base liquid, right? Whether that be probiotic, prebiotic benefits, caffeine in some cases, and then obviously with us, natural vitamins and electrolytes from coconut water. So, I think we really did spend a lot of time thinking about how to message functional benefits and in an alcoholic product where you can't market health benefits at all, outside of making nutrient claims. So we focused on that. I think that's something where you probably at the end of the day reach a consumer who wants a balance. They're choosing a product that allows them to have fun, let loose, enjoy time with their friends, but also make a choice that's good for their bodies, or at least as good for their bodies as they possibly can, given the circumstance.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I think that, I was talking to Joshua Rood, who's a founder of a hard kombucha company, and he said exactly the same thing. He said, "Hey, we're not making claims that this is a cure or somehow like an elixir, but if you're going to drink, why not drink something that is, one of the healthiest drinks that you can drink?" And
Absolutely. It's something that I think a lot of alcohol brands probably have spent a lot of time thinking about. So I'm not surprised to hear that other founders are saying the same thing.
yeah, I mean, and it's really, it's interesting because you're at the kind of at the a nexus of a couple of different categories, right? Because it's functional, it's better for you, but it also is a mood enhancer. And so,
Absolutely.
you're checking a lot of those boxes off. Where all are you guys available now?
So our product is available pretty widely in the eastern part of the United States. We've primarily we started in the area where we are deepest network. So we launched in Philadelphia, New Jersey. We're also available in New York, Western Pennsylvania as well now. And then we've added a number of Midwestern markets, primarily in upscale chains in those markets. So those would be Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky. That's all of the stateside availability. And then the most probably exciting development in our business is that we've really become something of a cult hit in the Caribbean. And a bit of a full circle moment for us is that, we were kind of inspired by drinking out of coconuts in the Caribbean at resorts in the Caribbean, right? Like putting a straw in a green coconut and mixing some rum in there. We are in Aruba, and then we'll be announcing several other, hopefully, entrees into other islands as well. And that will be our big introduction for this upcoming year. So if you are on vacation in Aruba or other islands in that area, which will be announced hopefully very soon, keep an eye out for us at your favorite vacation bars, beach bars, and also mini marts across the island. So those will be the places where you can pick us up, and hopefully many more to come.
I mean, who said that you couldn't sell coconuts back to islanders, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's really interesting because I think what has probably been the breakthrough for us is bars in the Caribbean, and like these are some of the best places in the world, right? Like, I mean, I can think of a short list of places that I enjoy more than a beach bar in the tropics. It's about as good as it gets, right? So obviously amazing to be involved in those businesses to begin with. But what we found is bars oftentimes that are using fresh fruits and tropical ingredients, they have to mix the drink with something in order to make it palatable. Otherwise, it's just kind of a very high ABV sugar bomb. So they'll mix it with like soda water. They'll mix it with seltzers or just in some cases ice and water, and they're diluting down the product, diluting down the ABV. By using us as something of a mixer, we're really palatable as a mixer with a number of tropical fruits, and they're able to sell, charge a bit more for the product and not dilute down the ABV. So we've become, a staple at a number of beach bars in Aruba, and probably rolling out that exact same playbook in a couple of other markets as well.
The interesting thing about it is a time saver for a bartender too, right? Because a lot of bartenders don't think about the on-premise aspect of like the bartender's life is busy, and so many bars are missing the boat on either zero proof or easy to make cocktails, like, right?
Yes.
And so you've got a virtually ready to drink option here. You're going to add a couple of things. You don't have to worry about losing the integrity of the alcohol part of it. It's brilliant. It really is. It is really smart. And may I suggest to our listeners that if you're having a glum day, maybe you can imagine that you're hanging out with Chris and Vincente and having a Caribbean cocktail in the Midwest or the Southwest or the Northeast,
Yep.
Northwest.
And this is maybe the best quality of life improvement that we made to our business of all, was selling it in really warm locales, because the sales trips are a lot more fun now.
I mean, I just remembered I didn't mention, I was talking about the hard kombucha, the guy that was on our show, and Joshua Root, his company is Dr. Hobbs. So you get a chance to check that one out. They've got beautiful branding as well. So you guys are big believers in fair trade and sustainability too, right?
Absolutely, yes. And honestly, I think we've constantly made, I think, changes over time to try to make our product more sustainable. In terms of our sourcing, we've moved through several different suppliers of coconut water, auditing every sort of step of the supply chain, and then trying to get a little bit more sustainable from a label perspective. So we've made changes. Our previous iterations of our product all include Preservatives going forward, will no longer be including preservatives in our product because we'll be tunnel pasteurized. So that's really nice, and that allows us to remove preservatives from the product, make it a little bit healthier. That's very important to us. I think it is incumbent upon a brand like ours to prioritize sustainability, because ultimately our ingredients come from the earth, right? And we are blessed by the earth, by Mother Earth, to this miracle fruit of coconuts that have nourished people for generations, right? To have created this delicious coconut water that we use in our products. So we are very, very focused on that. We are committed to working with organizations like 1% for the Planet, and similar organizations to give back to the earth. And again, it's something that's very important to us. So you're totally right about that. And frankly, as a brand like ours that gets its main ingredient from the earth, we'd be doing a disservice to not put importance on sustainability initiatives.
Love it. I was looking at your Instagram, and it's actually, what I loved about it is very progressive. Some of the images are just captivating, and they're kind of arresting looking at them. What's the story behind the visual direction with your Instagram?
So we really try, I think, to be different. I think a lot of brands kind of look and feel the same on Instagram, and our philosophy on Instagram has always been to not necessarily drive the business, but more so to kind of just communicate a lifestyle and a vibe to our consumers, that they associate us with a certain type of consumption opportunity, and also to create a strong feeling with consumers of affinity that allows them to keep coming back. So we've experimented with a number of different mood boards over time. I think for us, we're really about deep color saturation, and something of like a laid back. You think about like a Miami aesthetic, a sort of like retro tropical resort aesthetic. That's always what we've tried to go for. I will say over time, I think we probably want to invest a little bit more in product photography. It's not something that we've done a lot of. It's not necessarily been a focus of ours to this point, but we definitely want to do, incorporating our own photography. We've primarily done lifestyle images to this point. And something that we've been excited about, and this is a very fraught subject, but we have tried to incorporate AI where necessary to create interesting art to help us kind of augment some of the stock imagery that we've been using and some of the things that we've taken. We wanted to use emerging technologies to kind of extend our library of brand assets in a way that allows us to imagine worlds beyond those that exist and things that we've taken ourselves. So we've done that a bit, and also to allow us to create winter imagery, which is really important because we are an all seasons brand, but constantly fighting against seasonality trends. So we've done a little bit of everything there. I think there'll be more to come in the space as we continue to invest in it a bit more. I think most of our investment has really been on the sales side thus far, and I think we definitely want to do more on the social media side right now. But we also do have a very interesting consumer base, to advertise to social media wise, because our consumer base is primarily rotating tourists.
Got it. It's interesting, since I have not yet had one of your beverages for myself. I would think that the temptation is to chug it.
It's really easy to drink. It's really easy to drink, like almost probably too easy. So we have to remind people that it is alcohol in it.
That's super cool. What's the story? I gotta ask, because I love it so much. What's the story with your logo, and also the I'm assuming they're monkeys sitting around drinking or chilling?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think we probably spent the most amount of time and energy on prior to launch was two things. One was aligning the right wholesale network, which we did, and then number two was investing in the brand. And what we really want is, we knew we were going to grow very quickly because we had a great distribution network. We're going to grow faster than probably almost any other startup, at least in the infancy, because we had, again, wholesale advantages through networks that we had. We were going to grow at the retail level faster than our marketing budget could probably grow, right? So we needed to be able to attract people just by being on the shelf. That was an absolute necessity because we wouldn't be able to do the advertising in every store. It's just impossible to do. And our store count grew to 650 very quickly. So it was the correct assumption. We wanted to create something that would stand out as different and also be intriguing to people. So we wanted to use bright colors. We didn't want to go with sort of the like base white aesthetic that was at the time sort of the main, currency in seltzer. But also we wanted to convey quality and we wanted to convey premiumness. So if you look at our logo, I hope that everybody who's listening does look at it. It's meant to mimic, and I'm looking at it right now off screen. It's meant to mimic a liquor seal. So it's circular, meant to mimic a liquor seal because we're trying to convey that sort of level of premium quality. And then we gave it an emblem that I think you would probably expect more on a liquor brand as well. So it's two monkeys situated symmetrically around a coconut under a palm tree, drinking out of the coconut. So our monkeys are our mascots. They're very important to us. They're mischievous in all sorts of our marketing assets, and they're meant to kind of convey the like fun, playful, yet also like lovable aesthetic of our brand. We worked with our agency partners very, very intently on creating that brand. So again, it's very important to us. And then the name Osena is a marketing asset in itself, right? It's first of all, how do you pronounce it? What does it mean? What is Osena? Our can has all the answers on it, but you need to buy it to find out. So the name Osena is a portmanteau of the French word for water and a derivation of the Latin word for senses. So it means water for the senses. And that's what coconut water does, right? It's water for the senses. And when it has a little bit of alcohol, it certainly awakens all the other senses. So
That's lovely. You don't often hear of a story within the logo, or not often enough, I should say, a story within the logo and a story within the name where someone's asking,
absolutely
inviting a conversation that is, kudos to you, your partner, and your agency for coming up with that. That is very, very good. And I love the execution of the monkeys on motorcycle. Monkey running up the coconut tree, monkey doing different things. That is very, very, it's engaging. I mean, and when you can get, something at that granular level to engage someone, you're really doing a great job.
Yeah, no, who doesn't love monkeys, right? Like they're the best.
Yeah, let's make an agreement, with everyone listening that comes across this, that if someone has a dislike for monkeys, there should be some questions asked. Like you
can take it up with me if you do.
Yeah, watch out, Chris Allen's coming after you. As far as kind of like next steps and exciting things that are coming up, I know there's a launch in newer markets. What else are you excited about, or what do you alternate question is, what do you say to someone who is sitting in your shoes from 4 years?
Well, I think the space is very interesting. So I'll say first and foremost, we obviously exist in a macro environment and in a market where I think trends will happen regardless of whether we participate in them or not. And number one is premiumization. It's going to continue to happen. I think we need, and many brands like ours, we need good macro trends right now, I think, in order to continue to succeed. We're offering something better than existing alternatives in many cases, especially when we're at the scale that we're at and we're contract brewing. It's going to be more expensive than a lot of existing options as well. So when I see brands go from spiked seltzer to spiked, vodka sodas, right, using spirits as the base, tequila soda is probably the trending RTD in our space right now is tequila sodas. That makes me happy. That's a good thing, right? Because consumers are making the choice there to upgrade the ingredients that are used in their sort of base spiked seltzer. I think it's a fair bet, and I think hard kombucha brands would agree that consumers will bet to upgrade the non-alcoholic liquid used in the formulation as well. For us, what is most interesting is probably pack size innovation. So we're very confident in the 5 flavors that we have. We sell them in all various sorts of SKUs, right? So we have coconut flavor, pineapple flavor, mango flavor, guava flavor, and dragon fruit flavor. We feel like we have the right flavors to succeed. We sell them. 4 of those are in a variety pack called the Islands Collection. We sell our coconut flavor and pineapple flavor in branded 4-packs, primarily for off-trade. And then we sell all 5 of our flavors in unbranded packs or by the can, right, for on-trade, for bars, and they can mix and match which ones they like. We feel like those are pretty good offerings. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves in terms of offering new flavors just yet because we haven't necessarily reached where we want to with those core 5. What is interesting to me is pack size innovation. So, kegs for on-premise is very interesting to us. Also super interested in, 19.2 ounce for, C-store, for arenas, stadiums, and other sorts of food service, airports, things like that. Very interested in that. I think it's, it's nice to think about, especially for a premium option, trying us out in a single serve, before you go to the big volume drivers of, an 8-pack variety pack. So definitely looking into that right now. Continuing to push and flesh out what that on-premise looks like is important for us over the next, few months, as we get through our first sort of busy season in the Caribbean, which is occurring right now, and seeing what that means for our U.S. markets as well. Because right now, I would say in the U.S., we're very, very under-indexed in on-premise.
I think that's a really, really interesting strategy. I was reading that convenience stores are a sort of next frontier, and yet elusive in some ways. Because
very much so.
Because you got the person's attention and they're there and you're unexpectedly in front of them, but at the same time, Monster has spent 25 years building that brand, and so the person knows that brand. They may not know who was on the show recently. Bill Burgeon. He's a rocket scientist, and he's invented this product called the Saber Pack that removes moisture from food, and so keeps it fresh. He was saying it's a phantom problem. I love that term, the phantom problem. So there's no vocabulary around the problem, so people don't know the problem exists, right? And so it's like, hey, I'm here, I'm checking out the Monster. I don't even know that I want that coconut water, but that's what I really want, right? And so,
for sure, and I think the problem in C-store for a brand like ours is really twofold. It's one, it's the sets are very limited, so they're you have to find a really willing buyer and they're willing to take a chance and really a strong fit for their specific market or maybe their specific consumer profile. And then 2 is consumer predisposition to shopping in that occasion versus just kind of established routines, right? So I know for my own perspective, when I'm in the C-store, I know what I'm there for, right? Up here we have a very popular convenience store chain called Wawa. I've been doing the same thing going into Wawa since I was 12, and it doesn't really change. I'm going to order the same thing. I'm going to get the same snack, same drink, and then I'm out. Where we like people to spice it up a little bit in order to try us. So when you're in an off trade, especially with some of our better liquor store partners, they're there to shop, they're there to discover new brands. Is that going to happen in C-store? Maybe not unless we force it, or maybe unless we really work with the partner to work on things like positioning in the store, pricing, bundling in some cases. Those are things that we definitely really need to focus on because, again, we are definitely swimming upstream with consumer behavior in that channel.
And yet it's such an interesting opportunity because if you look at C-stores, it's by the time, a new-ish, like a Cape Cod, potato chip, not new, but let's say new-ish in the world of Lay's, it's new-ish, gets onto a C-store shelf, man, it's 5 years later, right? And so think of the and I don't know how the mechanics, the traffic mechanics work, but think of the opportunity if one convenience store was committed to 5% of its inventory all being new stuff, you know? So now you got people going in there saying, hey, I'm going in there, even though I've been doing this since I was 12, maybe I'll find something new. You know, is it a stretch? I don't know, maybe, but man, we can only hope, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think right now, especially, I don't know, this is just something that we sort of see and something that we feel in talking to consumers is that people are looking for to shake up their routines. I think, um, you know, the last few years have affected people in various different ways, but I think people are looking to shake up and try some new things. There may be a little bit established routines right now, and they're looking for something new and exciting.
Yeah, you're right. I think there's a sort of like pioneer mentality that we don't have a name for it. You know, it's like, hey, I can't go anywhere, so I'm going to try hop water. You know, and then I love it. I'm going to keep buying it, but then I'm going to try. You know, on Tuesday I'm going to drink Tilden. You know, and you know on Thursday I'm down because I still got one more day to go, and you know I'm going to drink Osena. So I think
Yep.
that there's sort of this. I think you know because we got more options. It's like not just Coors Light, like from our you know grandpa and dad's days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, all it takes is one walk down an aisle in Whole Foods to see that maybe we're about as blessed as we've ever been as consumers of new and innovative consumer products and consumables at this point that we've ever been.
What I think is super cool, you know, for all the people listening to zone in on here, you know, is that innovation can come in so many different ways. And Chris, you and Vincente are like living proof of that. You're thinking about your identity from an innovation standpoint. You're thinking about the flavors from an innovation standpoint. You're thinking about distribution and the you know actual product sets and the pack size. It's really great. You know, love what you're doing, and you and Vedant and Vincente too need to go, and your the fourth partner need to go back and like you know, I mean, listen, if Taylor Swift gets a class, Chris and Vincente deserve a class.
Serving up coconuts in
And
West Philadelphia.
it's interesting because the when we did the beginning of the third season last year, we had Mark Sampogna, I think, Samponia from Once Upon a Coconut, amazing product. They're also out of New York. And Jordan Russell from Raw Provisions, another great coconut water company. But so I'm a big believer. I was telling someone that you know there is this joy when you drink the coconut straight from the coconut water straight from the coconut that is you know doesn't matter if it's hot, it's unparalleled, right? And to be
Absolutely.
and to make that convenient and accessible along with alcohol. I'm so glad that you guys are doing what you're doing and you know making the world better for the rest of us.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. No. And then we have a lot of admiration for the folks doing the same thing on the non-alc side. I mean, the Once Upon a Coconut guys, they're my neighbors in Brooklyn. I know them well. They're good friends and love what they're building. So there's innovation in both verticals, and I think if you are a coconut fan, the next 10 years will be very exciting for you. So
And he's a cool guy, the founder, you know, and he was on the show, very gracious guy. And I was thinking to myself, it is a real freaking advantage, you know, to have an entire agency at your disposal. You know, I mean, I mean, just think of that. That is just phenomenal, right?
if there's anything that I would change about my entrepreneurial journey, think I would have brought on another co-founder who was from the agency world. I think that's something that is something that Vicente and I lack. So we've had to bring agencies on. If I could have done it the way that Once Upon a Coconut did, having an in-house agency founder to head that up versus having to buy agency expertise, I would have done it. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do that for company number two.
I mean, it's interesting. My good friend Jeb Banner, you know, was an agency guy and saw real issues in the nonprofit world, how they were keeping themselves organized and doing
Yep.
things, but all like kind of like base camp for nonprofits, and founded you know a SaaS company called Boardable. And I think that he was a huge advantage for them because of his ability to think like an agency, as you said, right off the bat. You know, it's like, hey,
Hmm?
we need to focus on identity. We need to think about messaging. So And I'm so thankful to you for coming on the show. Really appreciate what you're doing. As a leader and a founder, you got to live a lot of like thankless days. But today's your day. I'm thanking you a second time for doing what you're doing because we need this innovation.
Yeah, no, I really do appreciate that. I mean, the job of a founder is kind of interesting, right? Like when you'll go weeks at a time building stuff, and it doesn't feel like you're building anything. It doesn't feel like you're making any progress. So it's nice to get a little bit of recognition and also just to talk to people about what we're doing. I mean, I think it's we've done this for so long, it almost feels like just kind of the day to day for us almost becomes rote and mundane. But it is nice to take a step back and realize that we're creating something new. And we're pushing the boundaries of what's available to the consumer in America, and it's something that drives me a lot. And really, the reason why I decided to get into consumer facing to begin with all those years ago. So it's great to talk to you, and I thank you and really everybody listening for taking the time out. And hopefully we can find you one day on the shelf real soon.
Awesome. And in the meantime, Chris, let's make sure we tell people, if they want to make an order, where do they order? How do they buy it again?
Yep. So it's a retail product first and foremost. So the best thing you can do is check us out. Go to @DrinkOsena on all socials or drinkosena.com. Check out our store locator. Hopefully we have something nearby. If not, we'll be to you real soon. And then, when you're on vacation in the Caribbean, we should be available. So hopefully we'll become your go-to vacation drink.
Thank you so much. I feel like we could keep talking for another 30 minutes, but it's been great having you. Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where we just shine a light on founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. We've been talking to Chris Allen from Osena. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.